What is crack-a-lackin', my beautiful people? Nope. Let's try that again. What is up, my beautiful people? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Keara. If you are new here, welcome. This channel is very queer, and that is pretty much the only way I can describe it. As some of you may know, if you've seen my earlier videos, I do identify as gender fluid, and my pronouns are they, them, and she, her. Those might change in the future, I don't know, but for now, they, them, and she, her are both good. If you want to follow me on Instagram, make sure you do that right now at Keara Graves, and if you want to follow me on TikTok, I make a lot of gender and sexuality videos and mental health and everything pretty much on my TikTok, so make sure you go follow me on TikTok, Keara.Graves. Alright, you know how when you're, gay, or when you're growing up, when you're a young gaby, you might be like, having a crush on your same-sex teachers, or maybe you accidentally look at boobs in the girls' locker room. But not every non-binary or gender fluid person has distinct childhood signs that they can now in their adult years or teen years be like, oh, that makes sense that I'm gender fluid because of these earlier signs. So I was, for some reason just thinking about my childhood, and I actually realized there are a fuck ton of childhood signs that I was not necessarily cisgender. This is shocking me to my core because I really didn't think I had any. I feel like it'd be fun to go through some of my childhood signs to see if maybe you relate, maybe this could help you. And honestly, at the end of the day, labels aren't for everyone, but they can also be really helpful for people who want to really make sense of what they're feeling and put their emotions kind of into a description. That helps a lot of people. It personally has helped me, but I feel like at one point in my future, I'm gonna let go of the label and just live how I wanna live. But for now, since we do still live in a very binary, gendered society, I feel like labels can be necessary if you want them to be. And that is that on labels. But let's go into my childhood signs now. Remember when people used to say he, she? Looking back on it, people definitely used the term he, she as a derogatory slur, probably towards transgender people, or just people who didn't have a fixed gender, or maybe people who cross-dressed. I'm not exactly sure of the exact origins of the word, but I do remember it having a negative connotation. And for some reason, I really liked the word. I almost wanted to be a he, she, if that makes sense. Because there was no other word that could have encompassed how I was feeling. I was around the age of 8 or 9. So the term non-binary for me wasn't really a term that I had ever heard. I didn't have much education at all about gender or even sexuality for that matter. The language just wasn't there for me to be able to describe myself. So when I heard this term, I kind of saw it as anything other than just a he or just a she. I made this skit as a kid, and then I still have the video on a CD, on a DVD. The fuck? I made a movie in iMovie called Grandpa He She, and that was me. I was the lead character, Grandpa He She. Basically, it was just about my life being a grandpa, and it was all over the place, but I labeled myself as Grandpa He She in the movie. And I didn't know at the time how offensive that word could be, but to kind of take the power back away from the transphobic people, I guess now I can say that I, at the time, resonated with that. I resonated with that, other option of not being strictly he and not being strictly she. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but it makes sense in my head now. And now I'm very fluid with my gender, and I use more than one pronoun. So it's kind of weird. The next sign, this wasn't really childhood sign. This was a couple years ago, actually. So I was in this show called The D-Cut, and my character was initially supposed to be a non-binary character that used they, them pronouns. But when they cast me, I used she, her pronouns, and at the time I identified as a cisgender female. So the character molded with my own identity, so the character became she, her. But I really wanted to keep that character they, them. I didn't realize that at the time, but when they took away the they, them pronoun for that character, I got really sad. And now I understand, I really wanted to be referred to by they, them pronouns. and I didn't realize it at the time. So that was kind of interesting. Another thing that isn't necessarily childhood, but I've done this on my YouTube channel, I've done this on my TikTok before, I've done this on my Instagram. I was really obsessed with clothing swaps. So like, I personally identified as like a femme person. I was a feminine presenting person in general. And I used to date this person that was more masculine presenting. And I always wanted to change clothes with them. I wanted to like feel what it would feel like to be in their shoes. I was probably more comfortable being in their clothes than they were in my clothes. But anyway, nevertheless, I also did that with Lauren, my current partner. We did that like a while ago, and I felt really like euphoric in Lauren's clothes. Oh my gosh. Flash forward to now, I wear a lot of Lauren's clothes. And also I just like buy clothes that are just more aligned with like my personal gender presentation. But actually I think someone pointed that out in the comments of a previous video, or maybe it was under like a Instagram post. They were like, Keara, oh my god, remember when you always used to do clothing swaps, like mask and femme switch styles? Was that a foreshadow or was that a foreshadow? I don't know. Along the lines of dressing up, I used to always want to be like male characters for Halloween because I just loved feeling how that felt to be perceived as like masculine or like male. Usually it was for Halloween or maybe it was for dress up, but I always was like drawn to more masculine clothes, more traditionally men's clothes, even though clothes shouldn't be gender, but for the sake of, you know, the general public, men's clothes. Whenever like me and my friends would watch like a TV show when we were younger, and we would always like look up to a certain character, we'd be like, I want to be this character in this show. I would always want to be like the boy characters. I don't know why that is, but now it makes a little bit more sense because I vibed with that gender presentation, but I never felt like I could really grasp it. I never felt like I could do that. And I also knew that I wasn't like a binary trans person. So I was like, okay, well then I guess I like dressing up in a certain way, but like I never realized that had to do with like my gender identity until now. Okay, when I was like from the ages of probably like 8 to 11, I went to a drama school. So basically it was like an extracurricular outside of school thing where I would go on the weekends and we would practice acting, we would do theater, and we would put on a play at the end of every year, or maybe we'd put on 2 plays a year, like one in the winter, one in the summer. And I got cast in this play as a sea monster. And the sea monster was like kind of a gender neutral character. They used he, him pronouns for the sea monster, so I don't know. But I really loved being that character and I felt really euphoric in that character. The other people, for their costumes, they had to wear like dresses or like whatever it was, and I got to wear like a big baggy t-shirt and baggy cargo pants that were green, and I was like all in green. I felt hot, I felt badass, and now I'm like, aw, cute little baby MD. This is another like play musical theater situation. In high school, we were putting on a play, and it was like Jesus Christ Superstar, if you know that musical, but it was like mixed with like the Passion of the Christ. So like I went to a Catholic school, so like you already know we did Christian musicals and shit like that. I really wanted to audition for Judas. One, because he had the best songs in Jesus Christ Superstar, like Jesus, like if you know, you know. Judas was the best character. But I also like, I wanted to play like a male character. They ended up making like Judas just like female Judas, so like she, her Judas, which is, you know, it's a Catholic school, like what do you expect? I really wanted like Judas to be male Judas and for me to play male Judas, but anyway, I remember feeling that feeling when I like got the role and I was really excited, and then they're like, no, Judas is just gonna be like a girl Judas, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. The last thing I'm gonna mention, growing up, people in my life that identified as either like genderqueer, non-binary, gender non-conforming, blah, 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 I always kind of felt like a jealousy towards them. I was kind of angry that like they were allowed to come out proudly and freely as non-binary or gender fluid or whatever it was, and I kind of felt stuck. Like I couldn't explore my gender because maybe I didn't have some of the experiences that they had. I had different experiences, but that didn't mean that my experiences weren't valid. But since I only saw one representation of a non-binary person, I thought in my head, oh, since I don't align with these certain things that you feel, I can't be non-binary. But then recently I have discovered that you can, and it's a spectrum. Gender is a whole ass wheel of fortune. I don't even know why I said wheel of fortune.
Wow, as I'm editing this video, I'm realizing like most of these childhood signs are from theater, or they're from acting, or it's me exploring my gender through creative like forms, so acting. And I've always loved acting because you can explore parts of yourself that you never knew existed. And I was literally doing this as a little child and I didn't know.
Let me know in the comments below if you had any childhood signs. I would love to read them. I think it's so interesting. Our intuition knew, our higher selves knew, but like we just like weren't at that level yet where there was no representation, there was no like education about it at all. And now we can look back and be like, oh, this is so cute.
I never felt cis in the first place.
Make sure you like this video. If you want to see more content, comment down below and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Here's a hug. I love you.